Wednesday, July 9th. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, we're talking about how to build a life in writing, publishing, the arts at home here in this province. How important are collaboration and mentorship to all of this, to the arts community? That's the discussion, folks. Don't go anywhere. Well, I mean, you can go somewhere. You can listen to the radio in the car as you're driving, like some of you are doing right now. Elizabeth de Marafi, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show, Adam.
Thanks for coming on. We've been in touch, right? You had an idea, and here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more about this idea. Help me get the context for the next 55 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, I thought this would be a great show because I'm in a really lucky position this summer. So as you know, among the many things that I do, I'm the executive director at Riddle Fence, which is a magazine, but also an arts and culture organization at this point because we run lots of events. And we got some very valuable public outreach funding that allowed me to hire a public outreach coordinator for the summer. And I knew exactly who I wanted to hire because I had somebody who had volunteered for us last year. And that's Jenna James, who's sitting right next to me. So last summer, I guess I had a friend of mine who teaches in the writing and publishing program at Sheridan got in touch with me and said, you know, I've got this student who's originally from CBS, and she's going to be home in the fall, and she's looking to do any kind of like traditional unpaid internship work. And she really wants to come home and go into writing and publishing, but be in Newfoundland and Labrador. So I said, well, of course, we would love to have her volunteer help. And Jenna's just such a go-getter. And I was so intrigued by this idea, and I thought about it, you know, especially, I guess, Adam, when you think about the number of people from this province that have had to leave for work, for all kinds of work in the last 30 years. I just thought what a valuable moment this is to have, you know, a young person who is actually away on the mainland studying something that is really a valuable skill, who is saying, I definitely want to come back and be part of this. So so she did volunteer for us last fall. And then when we got public outreach funding from the Canada Council this year, I built in hiring somebody for the summer because I knew that she would be around in the summer. And I really wanted to give her that opportunity to do and she does so much for us. It's a very wide job description.
Very cool. Yeah, you got in touch. We talked about this, and then we elemented it. We thought, okay, let's bring some other voices in, and we'll call a couple of people, and we'll have this big discussion around writing, publishing, the arts, and staying or being able to do all of it in Newfoundland and Labrador, whether you have to go away and come back or not. So CBS? Mm-hmm. What out of school?
Holy Spirit.
Hey!
Really?
Me too, just a long time ago.
Oh, no way.
What year did you graduate?
2019.
Okay, I graduated in 1998. So,
Okay.
yeah. Mr. Cowley was there when you were still there?
Yeah, I went to Paris with Mr. Cowley.
No way!
I did, yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite teachers.
Yeah, me too.
Who listens to the show sometimes. So,
Yeah.
and I see him on the trails when he's out walking around.
Yeah.
All right, so enough about the Holy Spirit side of the conversation I didn't know we were going to get into in this show. Tell us about your job. How's it going so far?
Yeah, it's going great. I mean, I've been looking to get more involved in the publishing community here. I've just been away for 4 years. So I had this kind of disconnect coming back and just trying to find out, get a sense of the scene here and what is actually happening. So Elizabeth has been fantastic at bringing me in. I've been running our bookshop downtown. Mm-hmm. Yep, lots of people, lots of ferry people coming in off the ferries up the hill.
Not with wings, but
no,
not the Southern Shore type.
The boat
folks,
the boat folks.
Yeah.
with lots of fanny packs and zippers. And they love the store. They come in. We have tote bags, magazines, and lots of events too. Just trying to get more people knowing about Riddle Fence, knowing what we do, what we publish. More people submitting. Yeah.
All right. Well, we will continue to dig into stuff and drill down into all those bits. Susie Taylor's also here, fiction editor and writer. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Adam.
The last time you were here, we were talking about Vigil, right?
Yep, yeah, almost a year ago, a little over a year ago.
And it's done quite well.
It has. I've had a really wonderful, sweet ride the past few months. So,
congratulations! And I would let me move my notes over because of where you're set and where my notes are. There we go. Just so I get it right. So 2024 BMO Winterset Award for fiction, and then also the Alistair MacLeod Prize for short fiction 2025 Nova Scotia Atlantic Book Awards.
yes. So
Congratulations!
thank you.
That's like wild.
It is. It's completely wild. It still feels completely surreal.
When was the Halifax?
That was just in June, so it's still fresh. I'm still writing it.
So what's it like to so you went and you got to do what's that like?
It's incredibly joyous, and I think that it's great to win. I'm not going to lie. I'm very glad I won. But I live in Harbour Grace. Mm-hmm. You know, I do come into town for things like this, and I have writing community that I love. But there aren't a lot of opportunities to get to meet other writers, to get to read to audiences that you don't know. So, somebody flew me to Sydney and drove me around Nova Scotia, and I got to meet wonderful writers, and I got to do some readings in front of some really generous audiences, and then I got to kick back in Halifax for a few days, and it was just incredible.
Give folks the blurb for the book, which I've read, which was excellent. It was a year ago, but just give folks the blurb.
It is a collection of interconnected short stories that takes place in the fictional Conception Bay North town of Bay-Malvern.
There you go. I remember reading it, and I was like, this, and now I feel dumb, because I was like, this is really good. Yes, Adam, it is really good. It's the BMO Winterset Award fiction winner. So anyways, congrats again.
Thank you.
All right. Question for you folks, as we're all here sat around talking. How, this summer of 2025, if we're talking about building a life in writing and publishing, what's that like nowadays? Just a small question.
So for me, it means I just wear a lot of hats and I do a lot of things. Yeah. And I'm actually really happy with that. I think I'm a person who really enjoys being busy. And I have noticed over the course of my life that that my writing time is more valued, you know what I mean, when I have other things that I'm juggling. So it is striking a fine balance. So Adam, as you know, I'm a novelist also and a fiction writer, and I run Riddle Fence, and I also teach in the MFA program at King's College University in Halifax, which is a remote program. So I live in St. John's full time. So I'm doing all those things all the time. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that really powers me on Riddle Fence is the fact that I am a writer. You know, that's my key identity, is that I'm a writer. So everything I do, I'm thinking about what's the best situation for writers and readers in this province, and how can we provide more, right? So, one of the things that we've done at Riddle Fence that is kind of like my personal, my heart project, my passion project, is we've created a visiting writers program. And that's really because, I grew up in Ontario, and the difference between being in Ontario and being in Newfoundland and Labrador is that when people are booking, reading tours or reading series or anything like that in Ontario, you're like, oh, let's see who's driving through, right? Who's driving from Toronto to Montreal, and we'll try and catch them on the way. There is no catch somebody on the way in Newfoundland and Labrador. You have to be extremely intentioned about wanting that. And so, our mandate at Riddle Fence is to be publishing emerging, early career, mid-career, Newfoundland and Labrador born and based writers, shoulder to shoulder with really the best of Canadian mainland writers. And that is also the key with this visiting writer program, is to bring the best from mainland Canada in, so that we have a chance for public engagement. We have a chance to listen to people read from their new work, but not only read, because every writer that comes out actually does a workshop that Riddle Fence fully subsidizes, so it's free for emerging and mid-career writers to attend and learn from. And so for me, that is fully fueled by my experience as a writer here, and my experience going to the mainland and doing festivals and doing readings. Because one of the questions I get most often from other writers on the mainland is, how can I get to Newfoundland? It looks so amazing. And I'm like, it is amazing. And let's try and find a way to do that.
Is it hard getting, like, people want, I mean, just because you want to go somewhere doesn't mean you can, right? Like, is it hard to be able to, like, line people up, have them come in with the logistics of it in this, like, with costs and everything else in this world that we're in today?
No, if I have the funding, it's very easy.
Yeah, and it comes down to funding.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are well funded this year. We had Madeleine Tien come in June. That was a packed event in collaboration with Lana Vana, who are our, like, I would say, our key collaborators. We collaborate with Lana Vana every year. So Madeleine Tien, who has won, really all the Canadian awards, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize.
It's a good one to be shortlisted for.
It is a good one to be shortlisted for, right? No, amazing. And so that was, and in fact, the workshop, we had people sneaking into it. So I'm having to think now about how we're going to manage this workshop situation in future. And then we'll be collaborating further in October with Writers NL to bring both Heather O'Neill and her daughter Arizona O'Neill in, and then in November on our own Claire Cameron, whose book How to Survive a Bear Attack has been on the bestseller list pretty solidly for a few months now.
Amazing. You mentioned Lana Vana.
I did.
Nora de Marafi is here. How you doing?
Hi, I'm also here. Good.
Yeah. Marketing director, graphic design, Lana Vana.
Yes.
All right.
Many hats.
Yes. Tell. I think folks know, but tell folks a bit more about Lana Vana and how things are going.
Yeah. So we were super lucky to just have our 15th festival, which was what Madeleine was reading at and doing her workshop. Basically, it started out as just a new independent music festival in June, and now we're sort of a year-round arts organization doing lots of different programming. And then we also have not just music, but also visual art, writers, obviously. Interdisciplinary now as well.
Interdisciplinary.
I like that you caught that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a little lost in that word.
Yeah, me too. I was like, I could say it. No, I can't. What's it like doing the work? Like, as you come through, like the busy June, right? Busy, but then you've got other stuff year round. So what's it like to continue to do this work with collaborations and everything?
Yeah, I mean, the festival is my favorite part of the year, but it's a great gig year round. We have an amazing staff, and we have all of these great collaborations that we are constantly working on. So we have Get Out of Town concert series is happening this summer. So we're partnering with Union House Arts for a show for that. We're also putting off a show at Writers at Woody Point as well, which is coming up. So that's all in August. And we are also, as we speak, building a recording studio in our office downtown. So that's going to be a new offering as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Why is collaboration so important for the arts and for community, for health of it, for moving things forward and for success?
Oh, I love it.
And it's fun.
And it's fun. And it's fun. I mean, it's funny coming from Toronto, being in the last, 4 years as a student in publishing in Toronto. And it's a different air there. It's a different air. It's competition. It's cutthroat. I mean, especially being someone who's coming into the industry too. Like, there is an understanding that there are limited opportunities within the arts and within publishing for employment and for exposure, right? So coming back to Newfoundland, it almost feels like a relief a bit. Like, it doesn't feel like everyone is up against each other in the same way. I mean, like, I'm also the managing editor for Tooth Cup magazine, which we just started in January, and we're publishing our first issue in August.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. And I don't think we would have been able to do it without, collaborating with Riddle Fence, like getting to know people in town and having them. There's just such a strong sense that people are rooting for us and that people have our backs, which I think is so special to Newfoundland.
I feel that cuts across professions too, because for my end of it, sometimes we'll have folks come down from like Toronto to work with us for CBC Newfoundland and Labrador, and like the CBC in Toronto, you can get lost in that building, and there's so many people there, and then you come down here and you're just out doing your stories and you're making your pitches and you're doing the stuff that maybe it could take 3 months, 6 months, a year to even start to do there, and it can be such a, and here same thing on the journalism side, it can be such a supportive type of an environment, and people can thrive that way with some of that local magic of knowing who's who and who to talk to and how you can find support in. So it's nice to hear that there are similarities.
Yeah, it's a bit intimidating too because people are so close knit here. Like,
oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
and that.
Yeah, there is like kind of the sense when you're just starting out of like, how do I break into this circle? Like, there's a lot of cool kids here that I really want to get to know. But once you talk to like one person, suddenly you're like, oh, I'm being introduced to absolutely everyone else that's doing this work. And so it happens quickly and it happens really compassionately, which has been such a lovely change from the city life.
Where did for Tooth Cut, tell us more about it. Where did the idea come from? How did it get going?
Yeah, so it's myself and 3 of my friends. And my friend Caleb Brown, who is a student of the Honors English program at MUN, just kind of approached their friend Tanner, who said, let's start a magazine. Let's just do it. And me and Tanner are in a writers group together. And Tanner said, I know someone who, is hungry for this kind of thing. So they brought me in. We got it rolling. Nick Corcoran is also one of our editors, a writer in town. And so we got nonprofit status. We've been kind of learning as we go, kind of the Tooth Cut motto. We're cutting our teeth in this thing.
Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's been a learning process. It's been rough, but it's been so much fun.
All right, we've got Caleb on the line. Hi, Caleb.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Is everything Jenna's saying accurate there? I'm just double checking.
Yeah, so far.
All right, good. Tell us more about your involvement with Tooth Cut.
So I'm the editor-in-chief at Tooth Cut. It was my idea initially, and then Jenna did everything else, I think.
You need an idea person, right? The idea floats out, and then it's good to have a close friend who's a doer. All right. How's it looking for the first issue?
It's looking really good. A lot of interesting stuff that we're publishing, and it's coming along great and really fast. And it's weird that it's going to be a real thing in a month or so.
So today we're talking about, as we talk about making a life in the arts or in writing and publishing in Newfoundland and Labrador at home. A lot of it, there's collaboration and there's mentorship. What do you think about those things and how important they are for what you're trying to do and develop?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super important. I've found similarly, like Newfoundland is very collaborative. I've had a lot of mentors along the way. Big one being Lisa Moore, and it's nice to be able to do something that's also helping to help new writers along and stuff, right?
Yeah, there's a bit. Sometimes when people think about writers, you think of like this person writing alone in the basement, early hours, and like there's way more to it, and that's not exactly always accurate, is it?
No, not at all. It's because you don't know what's good when you're there alone in a room, right? Like you need to bounce stuff off people, or you're not going to improve at all, right?
So what kind of a role do you think Tooth Cut can play with that?
A big thing we've been talking about is putting emerging writers on the same level as established writers. And I think that's really important in that, like, sharing page space between people who've never published and people who have published a lot, right?
And like, to go and just start something like Tooth Cut, were any nerves around this? You like, for both of you talking about it. Look, now you're nodding, but there's a lot. But I'm hearing some confidence from both of you too, right? Like, it's like, hey, this thing's coming out, and we've had some help, and we're writing a thing, but we think it's important.
Yeah, I think every stage we get to, like we launched it, we announced it on social media, And like the first question was like, will people actually send us anything? And then they did. And then we're like, okay, so now we have to, edit things and put it together. And we were like, gosh, are people going to like this and like the way that we're doing things? And then they did, right? So we're getting this like kind of cycle of affirmation going a little bit. So, we're toddlers taking our first steps, but we are walking a little bit.
Good.
But,
I love it.
yeah. We also have secrets in the journal, which I'm very excited about. We had people submit their secrets
Oh.
and just will be published anonymously. So we
like
have
that.
some fun ones in there.
And Caleb, what's it been like for you reading, like as you put this out into the world and then stuff gets sent in, and for your position as editor-in-chief to look through what was sent in? Like what's the vibe you're getting, or what are the feelings or thoughts you have around the fact that folks are being like, yeah, I want to be part of this?
I mean, it's just very great because like we're also very new, so we haven't had the funds to pay people for their work. So like I can understand that if people were reluctant about that, but they haven't been. And everyone that I've talked to about this has been like, oh yeah, you guys seem like really interesting, really cool. So it's been a great response and felt great getting in so many great submissions and getting to read through them.
Excellent. Caleb Brown, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Caleb Brown, their editor-in-chief, Toothcut. Any thoughts on coming through? Like, what's it like to hear on your end?
It's great, and I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to reading Toothcut because I think the more of us there are, the better. And I think about my first 3 publications were in Riddle Fence. I think it's possible that Elizabeth might have put one of those in there. And Elizabeth has been a real mentor for me, and Carmela has also been somebody who's had a huge influence on my work. I think, too, like, the collaboration is so important because as artists, we're always feeding off each other. Like, the writers are listening to the musicians. We're going to see the art shows. We're going to see the plays. Like, we're all part
You're
of
not all
the
in
same
silos,
community, like, creating ideas and asking the same questions. So it's so good when we can have writers read at Lana Vana and do things like that.
And tell folks a bit about your path. Like, how did you get into writing?
So I trained in fine art, and then I worked retail for a very long time. And then my partner and I bought a house in Harbor Grace, and the plan was that I was going to make art, but we were very, very, very broke, and I couldn't afford to buy art supplies, but I had a computer, and I really just was like, I had this incredible desire to create. And so I wrote a book. It won the Fresh Fish Award. And I was just worked hard and was extremely lucky.
So then if we talk about how to make a life in writing and publishing, I mean, that's not exactly a roadmap for everyone, but.
No. I don't know if I'd suggest it. It's hustle. Like it's really, you have to hustle. You have to really care. Like to be an artist, to be any kind of artist, whether you're a musician, whether you're making clothing, whether you're in publishing, you have to really want it because it's hard and it's a gamble and there will be transcendent, wonderful days and there will be really, really hard days.
Yeah.
Like you have to have a thick skin. There is so much rejection. I sent so many rejection letters out as the fiction editor at Riddle Fence to great stories. But the reality is there's so many wonderful writers and such little space. So, you have to have tenacity. And I can tell you as somebody who has done it alone, it is way more fun being a writer with writer friends who you can message your, oh my God, how do I do this questions to? And they can say, you can do it. You just need to keep going. It's a lot easier with that behind you.
So what's it like to get a rejection letter as a writer?
Well, there's different levels.
Okay.
There's like, I didn't get in this lit mag, I'm going to be sad. There's, this agent rejected me. I'm going to lie in the bath and cry for 4 hours. There's like publisher rejections, which are like, I'm going to have a martini now and cry for 5 hours. It's hard.
There's
like
a
you
range.
care about your work.
Yeah, of course.
But, but you'd have to get up and dust yourself off and keep on going.
So then when you started sending them out, how did how did the experience of rejection help you or not around sending them out? Did it inform your tact or bedside manner along this or not?
Well, I will say this, that I talk a lot about good rejections, which is when you send something to somebody and they actually respond to you. And so when the work is good, one of the things I try and do as an editor is always send out some good rejections.
Yep.
So that means it's really close, or I love the story, it just doesn't fit with us this time, because I know that sometimes those glimmers of hope are what you need to send out the story, to edit it, to send it out to another 5 journals and keep going.
Yeah. And to get a little bit of nice something out of rejection, it is nice. I've gotten rejection letters from my profession, and it's like a little nugget of like, oh, but they liked that. That was good. It actually helps. Talk to me, like, as we talk about collaborations, talk to me about the Biennale.
Oh, okay. So that's one of our most fun, exciting collaborations. 2 years ago in 2023, I was very new at Riddle Fence, and I was kind of like very seat of my pantsing. But one of the exciting things about Riddle Fence is we are a literary journal, so we publish poetry and fiction and essays, but also visual art, and that's quite unique for a literary magazine in Canada. And because we publish visual art, we publish like in full color, and it's gorgeous. And when I was new, I sort of thought, gosh, like we should really do something more with this. And the Monte Vista Biennale was coming up, and I think Sue and Rose were actually fairly new to it at the time. So I just reached out and said, I don't know if you've ever heard of us. Can we collaborate? Can we would love to produce a Biennale themed issue where all the visual art is chosen from artists who are represented at the 2023 Biennale, and we include some essays that are, perhaps a studio tour. And I just sort of like threw it out there. And my visual art editors at the time were Jane Walker, who is now the head of the Grenfell Art Gallery, and Tanea Hines, who is still with us. And gosh, Adam, were they ever generous? Like they just sort of let me, like, I was like, how about we do this giant crazy thing? And they were like, okay, sure. And Sue and Rose at the Biennale also really liked the idea, and we all kind of seat of our pants it together. So this year, we have another Biennale coming up in August, and we had already had one kind of under our belts, so we were able to, Carmela Gray Cosgrove, who is our managing editor, and I approached them like now a long time ago and said, we'd love to do this again. Can we do it again? And they were very generous, and so we have a gorgeous issue that is Biennale themed that is at the printer right now.
Amazing. Sue Ballant is on the line, executive director of the Monte Vista Biennale. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Everything all good and together for the Biennale, or what?
Oh yeah, it's coming together. We're into go mode. We're about 5 weeks out from our opening. Our opening weekend is August 16th. It's the first official day. Artists are starting to arrive. Shipping is underway, and it's looking really good for our 5th anniversary edition.
5th anniversary edition. We were just hearing Elizabeth talk about collaboration. Talk to us a bit about it on your end, from as executive director of the Biennale, and to collab with Riddle Fence.
For sure. Elizabeth, thank you for saying that we were so generous. You too and your team were so generous to us. It was such a great idea to be able to collaborate, and I think it's really valuable for us. Collaboration on our end looks like, we're very intentional in our curation of inviting in artists who are emerging, mid-career, and established, and really fostering a community of artists that collaborate and can share unique perspectives from different disciplines as well as geographic and cultural backgrounds. And so to share that with Elizabeth and the team and Riddle Fence and open up the network even more broadly was a real joy. And the issue in 2023, and I have no doubt it will be the same in 25, is such a nice commemorative piece and documentation for everyone, both collaborators, artists, and visitors to the Biennale, to be able to hold in their hands as a memory.
When I was prepping for the show, you and I were talking, and I asked you about mentorship, and we ended up talking about peer-to-peer learning and the importance of it and what that can mean in the arts sector. Can you just talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I had shared with you the other day that mentorship is not a word that I'm as fond of as really looking at this peer-to-peer learning, because again, like, everyone learns from each other, and I think that that's the real joy. And so we do have, as I mentioned, a lot of emerging artists, and also we have students that work with us at the Biennale. And because we're an all hands on deck kind of organization, folks just get thrown in, and wherever their skill set lies, they learn on the ground very practical skills, from installation to marketing to hosting, being good hosts of all the artists traveling onto the peninsula, to Buena Vista Peninsula for that time. And it's really great to see, especially students and emerging arts managers, producers, installers, really like spreading their wings and growing confidence in a very short period of time of what they can take on. Festival and event work is no small achievement to be able to pull off. And the team really comes together, and it's really satisfying to see at the end of the day what we've accomplished as a group.
And we've got 2 weeks and a day from now, we are doing on this show a Biennale tee-up. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we got some local artists going to be here, and we're going to map it all out for folks to really dig more into the Biennale for this year. Sue, thanks so much.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, Sue Ballant there, Executive Director, Buena Vista Biennale. Any thoughts on what Sue was saying? Just whether it's about mentorship or the peer-to-peer learning and the importance with arts or with publishing and in the music in the arts world.
Sure. I mean,
jump on in.
I'll jump on in. That's something that we're always thinking about also from a music point of view. Finding ways to foster, especially young artists and bands here in Newfoundland and Labrador, keeping them here or bringing them back here. So that's one of the things I mentioned earlier. We're building a recording studio and starting a program that will be launched next week called Dare You, which is Demos and Recording Enrichment Unlimited.
All right, cool. I like it.
So that's Sarah Harris, our programming director. It's sort of her baby, but we'll be doing a call for some bands to come in at no cost to them to record a demo. We'll be paying for all of the other end of that. And on top of that, then we'll also have 2 people coming in who will be learning under Sarah and our other sound techs to learn how to record, how to mix, how to master. So creating more of those skills here and hopefully making it more accessible to everybody.
So we are in a time where sometimes you hear about certain festivals not doing so well, may not continue. It's easy to hear about things in the music industry not kind of moving forward, and also publishing. There are publications that shut down and everything else, especially historically here in this province, when years ago there were tons more and then a bunch shut down. What does it take to stay healthy and moving forward and to stay employed? Because earlier we talked about grants and funding. That's obviously a major part of it. It has to be available, but how do you find success in this? And I'm not asking you to talk about anyone else, just your own experiences here, but what do you find works and is helpful for yourselves?
I think a little bit of diversification has really helped Riddle Fence. And I think from a funding perspective, collaboration, this is one of the things we haven't really pinned the nose on here, but from a funding perspective, of course, collaboration is very beneficial because it means we're actually sharing those funds and we can produce bigger, better events when we work together, right? So if we look at the example of the Biennale, really exciting for us because we're publishing international and national visual artists who, would not necessarily come to Riddle Fence. And if we look at, for instance, this visiting writer program that we do, when we collaborate with Lana Vana, we're not only availing of each other's promotion and base and demographic base, but we're also just cost sharing, right? So it becomes much more possible to do more, I think. And when I'm just going to go back to talking about peer-to-peer learning, because I did want to say I love that Sue said, I don't have an issue with the word mentorship, but I think looking at mentorship as going up and down the ladder, right? One of the things that I really liked about the idea of working with Jenna was that I knew she was going to be starting this new magazine.
Yeah.
And I knew that her new magazine would be targeting, in many ways, a younger demo. And I think that's really important for us. You know, one of the comments that I had gotten from somebody, a more senior, venerable person in the arts here after attending a Riddle Fence event last year was, oh, your demographic seems to be quite a bit younger than, you know, what some of the other festivals, especially literary festivals. And I thought, well, that's actually what we need to produce continuity, right? Like we can't just sort of sit doing the same thing over and over again. So I thought, well, you know, not only if I bring Jenna on do I have, you know, someone who's great at her job, but she's actually kind of bringing her people, and then my people are getting introduced to her people. And so there have been some, like she mentioned, we have a pop-up bookstore on Saturdays over the summer at 100 Duckworth Street in St. John's. And she's done some interesting collaborations with Toothcut there at the same time as we're doing Riddle Fence stuff. And I think for me, like, we just gain so much when we share audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, Jenna?
Yeah, we had a zine making workshop there one day. We currently have a zine library at the shop, kind of like a little free library.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny coming from someone that is, you know, we're just getting our feet under us, so like we really don't have anything to show for it yet. So funding is not easy to come by when you don't have anything to prove.
Yeah, because typically they're like, well, what have you done? And you're like, well,
we're
we're
like,
new.
We posted on Instagram several times, right? So it's you know, it's hard to have any kind of, you know, pizzazz to show off to people who would give you money. So I would say too, like collaboration with people outside of arts organizations. Like one of our biggest issues now is fundraising, but also finding space to, you know, host events that we won't, you know, lose money on. So I'm, you know, for people that do have space and are willing to, you know, share it with people who are doing the work, I would say share it because it's needed.
We've got Carmela Gray Cosgrove on the line, managing editor for Riddle Fence. Carmela, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
And
Hi, everybody.
You're listening in here. Do you want to build on or expand on or comment on just the last little bits that you're hearing from folks?
Sure, yeah. I also really liked the idea of peer-to-peer learning actually over mentorship, because I sort of share some of the feelings, because I find I learn in both directions from everybody that we work with, and especially through the collaborations that Riddle Fence does. But also within Riddle Fence, we have like a really incredible, strong, talented editorial board. I know Susie's in studio with you guys, and we just learn so much from each other within the magazine, and also from the writers that we're reading and publishing and the artists that we're featuring. So there is like an internal mentorship or peer-to-peer learning that's happening within our organizations, and then there's sort of cross-organizational collaboration really enhances that.
Where are we reaching you to again today? Remind me.
I'm in Vancouver right now.
Okay. What are you doing there?
I'm doing a MFA in creative writing at UBC.
Right. So when we're talking about making a life in writing and publishing in Newfoundland and Labrador, a lot of times for different education stuff, for different opportunities, folks go to other places, which can be a great thing. I'm just wondering your thoughts on what you're doing there and how it can also help and benefit whether with Riddle Fence and colleagues or the larger writing community for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I found, so I'm from Vancouver, and I moved to Newfoundland 15 years ago, but Newfoundland has an extremely rich arts and culture sector and community, and the writing community in Newfoundland is so supportive and beautiful. But Newfoundland is still really quite separate from the rest of Canada and really hard geographically, obviously, to get to. And I have found for my writing career, which has been sort of the past decade, that has actually been like quite a hindrance to just feeling part of the CanLit scene. I know, Elizabeth is from the mainland, and I think can probably speak to this as well. Just the sense that when you're in Newfoundland, you are quite sort of alone in terms of connection to the rest of the Canadian literary scene. And I think it has been really lovely to be off the island for a little while and meeting people outside of Newfoundland and making connections on the mainland.
Elizabeth, do you want to jump in on that too? Because this touches on what we were talking about earlier, right? Like if you got Carmela doing what Carmela's doing on the West Coast, and folks like in that orbit, people who and then you folks are working on bringing in writers, and like this is in a spot that can be isolated. Having those extra little bridges or connections, it seems like it could be quite beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the themes that keeps coming up in this conversation is that writing and art making of any kind is not an isolated experience, right? So, and I think you're right. People do think about writers as of sitting in a little room by themselves. And yeah, I spend some time sitting in a room by myself.
Yeah, you're not writing with other people all the time, obviously.
No,
yeah,
but having a peer group of writers, people that you can reach out to for sometimes just a bit of encouragement or social life, and sometimes to share work or to ask questions of, how did, or to get recommendations from. All those things are really, really important. And that was one of the things that I learned. So my writing career was literally just starting as I moved to Newfoundland and Labrador. So I moved in July 2012. My first book came out in October 2012. I was exceptionally lucky to be invited to lots of events on the mainland with that book and subsequent books. And that experience, I think, is just so valuable that I really want it to be here as well. We do have some great festivals here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Like of all the festivals I go to, Writers at Woody Point is my favorite, and I will tell people that all the time. It is like summer camp for writers. It is amazing. I assume it's also good for audiences. But
people seem to like it a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, the rep is a pretty good one.
Absolutely. And we don't yet have that in St. John's. And I think that part of my goal with this visiting writers program is to create an intermingled community between the mainland and the island as well. And I mean, really, so all our events are live streamed. You can find them all like in perpetuity on our YouTube. If you click live streams, they're all there. Of course, what I really want is the funding to bring someone to Newfoundland. So if Maddie Chen comes, as she did just now in June, so she comes and she speaks in St. John's, and then she does another event somewhere else. And we did that last fall when David Hubert was here. He did an event in St. John's. He did another event in Corner Brook. That would be my ultimate goal, would be to have writers come in and do, I would say 2 to 3 different events across the province, including in Labrador.
What do these events give?
For one thing, they give a common public experience of the art. Just the same way that going to a play or going to a gallery or going to a concert does, right? If we all sit in a room together and we listen to a story, we all have a shared experience of it that comes into our life, right? So I think that's, whether you're a writer or a reader or just somebody who likes stories, I think that those experiences being shared, especially coming out of the pandemic when we did not have that at all. And I'm really seeing audiences starting to come back now. And I don't think, Adam, that they were coming back until 2024. I really, in the last 12 months, have seen a sea change in what people want and what we are interested in experiencing together and remembering how great those shared experiences are. But of course, also then we do this workshop series, which I think is so valuable if you are an emerging or mid-career writer.
And capacity buildings type stuff, right?
Yes,
And they kind of level up everyone.
Yes, yeah.
Carmela, any other thoughts on what Elizabeth's saying there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just bringing people to the island, getting people off the island, I think all of those experiences are invaluably enriching to the culture of writing in Newfoundland. Like, I think that the magazine does it. We try and publish writers from Newfoundland, but also writers from across the country and internationally. And that bringing writers in is not a new thing. Riddle Fence is doing it now. The Writers Alliance or Writers NL did it for years before we picked up doing it. And those events, like when I came to Newfoundland and I started writing, those events were so inspiring to see my peers in Newfoundland reading and on stage beside, Eden Robinson or, Maddie Tien, that those experiences were really formative for me as an emerging writer. And I think just like continuing that and creating a space for other writers in Newfoundland to have those experiences is so essential.
Carmela Gray Cosgrove, thank you so much. And thanks for getting up in the morning to take the call and to be on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your summer. Carmela there. We were talking about, like, when we talk about collaboration and trying to find funding and everything else, that seems like you got to be with it and to take it and to like forward looking to know what's coming down the pipe, who to talk to, how to talk about something magical or special to actually get funding in to move forward. Like, how much work and forward thinking vision do you need to get this stuff greenlit?
Yeah, I mean,
Like a lot.
A lot. Our executive director, Chrissy Dix, has been with us for almost over 10 years, and she's amazing at grant writing. And without her, Lana Vana started very DIY as well, like similar to Toothcut, I would say, way back now, 15 years ago. People still think of us as a baby, but I've seen a lot of growth in the 5 years I've been there, and it's all thanks to just continued amazing reporting and grant writing, honestly, as well as the collaborations. And like you were saying before as well, like in-kind just space is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we wouldn't exist without in-kind partnerships as well, like without, sharing the cost is great. But then also, we donate our space when we can, and we use like Eastern Edge's space all the time. Later this month, On Sound's going to use our space. Holdfast is going to use our space. So if Toothcut wants to use our space, let me know.
Great.
Oh, this is how it happens. Just right here. Okay.
This is how it happens. So basically you have to be super with it, I think. And I would say we're really lucky to have her, but honestly, like, she is Lana Vana. We don't.
Okay. All right.
There is a whole other like grant language that you need to learn, though. Like as excited as you are about certain aspects of your project or, a magazine, like you have to know what is appealing to the people that you are writing for.
It feels like the opposite of when I think of being an artist, though, right? All this creativity and I can go anywhere. It's like now you need to, like, it's a grant and it needs to be a certain way. You got to fill it out. If you don't, well, some of that special stuff you want may not happen.
Yeah, because as an artist, you want to kind of pump up the artistic vision and like how valuable it is to have, certain aspects of certain writers, but you really do have to kind of put on the business hat and, consider yourself a business because you are, it's as grassroots as you want to be. You also have to know like how exactly what you're doing will affect the people around you.
So was this some of what you were learning at school with Sheridan when you were like under publishing, or have you learned this now coming into learning with Toothcut, also Riddle Fence? Like where did this understanding come for you?
I think when I was in school, so I went to Sheridan College for creative writing and publishing, and a lot of what I was learning in the publishing side was more editorial work. So it was, editing, behind the curtain, like pre-production kind of things. And then when I came here and saw what I wanted to do and what I wanted to put out, I said, there's actually a lot I need to learn on the other side of publishing to be able to put out something like Toothcut or to support Riddle Fence. So a lot of that has come from, being on the ground and actually doing
the hands-on work.
Yeah.
So then where do you, as I talk about like Toothcut, the first issue's just coming out, where do you want, which is a great achievement in itself, but looking even further, where do you want to go with things then?
I think we would just love to, once we're kind of in like frazzled mindset right now.
Yeah.
Not frazzled, but we need to, get our feet under us and know that we can put an issue out before, we start going big. But we do want to publish. Right now we're only publishing once a year. We would love to go to 2 to 3, to not have to have the worries of publishing, because that does come with working in the arts. Is it is a gamble, like you said, like it's never guaranteed. So to have some of those worries qualmed and to be able to focus more on the work is kind of our next big step, I think.
And what will impact be for you? What do you consider impact and like the end result of like achievement with this? Putting it out, sure, but what kind of like effect on people or learnings or whatever you want to call it do you think would be, hey, this is success for us?
Yeah, I think just like being a known avenue for writers and for visual artists in Newfoundland. Like there aren't very many. The few we have are, you know, so caring and so strong with the people that are working in them. But to have another outlet for people to, you know, have a publication under their belt so that when they go on to, you know, hopefully publish more, you can, you know, have that byline that says, oh, I was printed on a page. Like other people have read my work and appreciate it and think it's worth something. And so maybe someone else will too. So like that counts for here in the province. It counts for people going on and doing other things on the mainland. So hopefully we can do that for people.
Susie Taylor, what the work you're doing, whether it's the editing side, right, with Riddle Fence, or your own writing, like where are things going? Where do you see yourself kind of continuing to push?
I think it's an interesting thing because as a writer, you have to sort of put everything aside and just think about the work. And so right now in my own work, I'm just very much involved in the work. In Riddle Fence, I'm really excited to bring on new writers. I think it's also, just to talk about granting, one of the things that happens is, unfortunately, we as artists live in a world when we're constantly having to apply for grants to survive. And there isn't any sort of long-term funding for artists, for artist organizations. Every year it's the same thing. You're like hoping you're going to get that money because it's, you know, it's a tough hoe. But one of the things that happens is when you get publications, that helps you get grants. So it's actually a really important professional accolade to have something in Toothcut or
those
Riddle
names,
Fence.
that name printed.
Yeah,
with the words
that means that you
matters.
can qualify to get into the Canada Council portal once you have enough publications. So it's really important. And one of the things as the editor that I read everything, like every single piece that comes across my desk gets read because the person that sent them in deserves that. Of course. Deserves that respect for their work.
Yeah. What's it like when you read something you're like, this is great?
It's exciting. I get excited. I'm like at home alone and the cats are jumping up because I'm like, oh, this is great.
The cats stop eating the books
The cats are like,
and they're like, hey, here we go.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
and it's great. Like when you reach out to an artist and like, you know, they're excited because you send an acceptance and then within 15 seconds they've replied. It's wonderful.
That's great. They barely read the whole thing. It's like, yes, great. I love it. Nora, looking ahead, future, whether it's Lana Vana, some of the other stuff that's coming up. You mentioned a few things. Anything else?
Well, I did want to just jump in for 1 second.
Yes, and
too,
or that. Yeah, whatever you want. Choose your own adventure radio.
I was just going to say, too, that I've been really lucky to grow up watching my mom be an artist. Aww. And she gave me this great advice that I give everybody and I think about all the time when it comes to grants or publications and rejections, is she just always said, always be applying. And so I'm always applying as an individual artist and as an arts organization. And then the rejections don't feel so bad because you're like, well, I have all these other things in the fire and maybe the next one. And, you know, if you get that really good feedback, then that's, you know, how you get funding in the future, or you get your first publication or your like 100th publication. So wanted to say that because I'm sharing that all the time. Yeah. And then in terms of going forward future, I've already talked about everything, Lana Vana. Keep in, follow us and
follow it
online.
It. Lana Vana.
Watch this space.
Elizabeth de Marafi, final thoughts. You've got 25 seconds. And you got to hit it, too. You can't be over or under. It has to be right on the button. 21 seconds.
I just want to reiterate, I think what Susie was saying, which is that one of the big values about a magazine like Riddle Fence, an upstart magazine like Toothcut, is those publication credits. Because if you want to get a grant, if you are writing a letter of query to an agent or a publisher, they want to see that you have published in the past. And so without magazines that publish fiction and poetry, there are no venues.
Thank you. You landed it. It's great. Thanks, folks, for the conversation. All right. That is it for today's show. If you have You got five extra seconds. How do you get in touch with Riddle Fence? Google it.
Riddlefence.com.
There we go. Thank you all. Tomorrow we talk wetlands and conservation. What are the conservation efforts in Newfoundland and Labrador? What are different groups doing to protect different areas? Where did municipalities come into this? That's tomorrow on the show. Don't miss it.